Hi, Kate with Kate's Paper Creations here today. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Washington State, and I welcome you to my weekly YouTube video featuring some of the new products in the 2021 Stampin' Up! Annual Catalog. And today's video goes with what I call casing the catalog, where I use the catalog for inspiration or to copy and share what is in the catalog and show you how I made the cards that you might see pictures of in the catalog. And today I'm featuring this Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set bundle, and it's found on pages 12 and 13 of the annual catalog, so you can see those there. And I hope you enjoy the video, and I look forward to hearing from you what you think. Okay, I think I'm all set up with everything I need to show you how to make the card that you see here. This is featured on page 13 of the catalog. It's this one right here. Mine's just a little bit different, but basically the same. So let me show you how I made it. I started by cutting a 5.5 by 8.5 piece of very vanilla cardstock and scoring it at 4 1/4 to make an A2 greeting card base. So that's that. Then I cut a piece of crumb cake, and this is cut 4 by 5 1/4. And this is what we're going to stamp the flower on from the Celebrate Sunflowers stamp set. And we're going to use this large flower right here. Here's the stamp, and we are going to stamp it with crumb cake. I'm going to do it this way. And you want one fairly large flower for the most part, but they're all going to end up being stamped off just a little bit off the edges. I never stamp it the same way twice, so that's how it comes out. Okay. So there's that. Now the thing that had me curious was it was definitely stamped, or seemed to be stamped, on a crumb cake background. And so how do I get it so that the colors would show up nice and vibrant? And what I ended up doing was pulling out the Stampin' Chalk marker. This is a very seldom used tool that I have in my arsenal here, and I think that this is what was needed to make this card turn out the way it did. And so you're going to use that chalk marker and color in all those petals with the white chalk, just like this. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because you can see from the finished product what it looks like. And you can still see the accent lines through the white chalk, and if it's not white enough to suit you, you can always go back and add more. Just like this. You can see it goes pretty quickly. And just stay inside the lines so that they still show up. So that's basically what you're going to do with your marker. And then you're going to pull up the Mango Melody ink pad, and I used So Saffron for the yellow. And then I used a blender pen. Where's my blender pen? There it is. And I just reuse these all the time. So what I did next was I used the So Saffron, and I colored in over the white just like this. And I kind of left the tips just a little bit white. I didn't take the color clear out to the end. So just colored them in like this. Leaving just a little bit at the tips. And you just keep getting a little bit of ink on there. And you can increase or decrease the intensity based on how you color it in. So with that end, and then I switched ends and did the mango melody. I always want to say that wrong. And I used the lines that are already in the flower design. You can see all these brown accent lines, and I just used those to add some mango melody to the petals. Just like that. And it just starts turning out really, really lovely. And I think it looks pretty darn close to what they had in the picture in the catalog. It may not be how they did it, I don't know, but that's what I came up with, and it seemed to be working. As you can see from the card here, this was the first one I did, and I tried doing it with blends pens, and it didn't give me the intensity I wanted, so I switched to using the blender pen and the ink pads, and that's how I got the brighter colors on these flowers here, just so you can see the difference. So that's what I did to get the card base, and then it's so simple. From there, you're just going to attach that to the front of your card piece, leaving that 1/8 inch border around. Then I punched this tag out of Ornate Frames die set. It's laying here somewhere. It's not in the box. There it is. Right there. So I used that die and cut this out, and then I stamped the sentiment, "Thinking of You." This came from Woven Heirlooms stamp set, and I just liked the script of it. And I'm in the need of some Thinking of You cards, and so I just stamped this on here. It fits perfect. Let me get it where I can see what I'm doing. And then I attached that to the front with some dimensionals. But before I attached all of this to the card front, before I attached this, I took some linen thread, and I cut a piece of linen thread and wrapped it around, and I made a linen thread bow with a triple layer. And then I added some gilded gems, and that's the finished card. And it turned out really nice. So I hope you enjoyed that casing of a card. I've got another one for you. Let me get set up for it, and I'll be right back. Okay, this is card number 2 for casing the catalog video today, and it turned out really lovely, I think. This is the picture of the card in the catalog, and I didn't have this particular background, but so I used a different one, which I'll explain in a minute. And here's my finished card and what it looks like. So I started with a piece of Whisper White Thick, cut 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4 to make a top fold A2 card. So this card is going to open this way. Okay. Then I took this background, which came from the Flowers for Every Season 6x6 designer series paper, and I cut it 4 1/4 by 5.5, so it's going to fit and cover the entire front of the card, no border on it. I didn't want a border to distract from this beautiful blue design. So, and we'll lay it down like I usually do in my videos. I start by holding it kind of with my fingers like that on the sticky, and holding it up so that only one corner attaches, and I push that down. Then I can see the other corner and set it in place and cover the front of the card. So there's the front of the card ready to go. Then I used the Stitched So Sweetly dies. I don't have the case out here, but that's what this came from. It's the largest rectangle in that set. Oh, here it is. Let me show it to you right here. and I used the largest rectangle in the set to create this. And then I cut 1/4 of an inch off the top because I wanted the top flat, and it's going to attach with adhesive right here on the card, just flat. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And there's not an exact science to this, just pretty much just keeping it square with the world, which is easy to do. So there's that part of the card. We'll set that aside. Now, I cut this die out with, it's the largest flower outline die right here, out of Daffodil Delight. And then I cut this piece, which is the detailed outline piece, out of Mango Melody. And before I cut it out, I actually cut a piece, and I cut it, let me see if I say in here, 3 1/4 inches square is all you need to cut these out of, so you don't have to get a great big piece out. But I cut a 3 1/4 inch square of this Mango Melody, and then I lined the back of it with the double-sided adhesive sheets that are in the catalog, so that when I get ready, I can peel this off of the back and it'll be ready to stick down onto here, and I don't have to do a bunch of gluing. Then the next thing you're going to want to do before you get ready to peel that backing off is figure out how they line up, because it's a little tricky. Oh, and I lucked out. Look at that. So now that I know exactly how it's going to lay, I can keep track of that and get a hold of this backing and pull it off. And it's all sticky now, so let's see. Get that right back where I had it. Oops, see? Now see, I tell you, I lucked out and then I moved it, so I got to figure out where it goes before I let it stick down. Lots of not sure what I did here. I must have turned it around, because this looks like it's more close to what I needed. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so sorry for that, but that's what you got to do, is just figure out where the alignment goes. And then I just started sticking it down a little at a time to get it to line up with the background. You may not ever get it totally perfect, but it will be done well enough. So there we go. There's the basic part. Then I just cut a small square of Early Espresso and put it right in the center of the die and cut out this center. Now you will have to come back and with your scissors after you've cut this out and trim off these extra leaves that are protruding, and so you'll cut those all off so that you just end up with just the center. And I'm going to attach that on here, and I made sure all those little holes were punched out because I wanted the orange to show through. And this can just go on with some liquid glue or even snail. You can just put some on here like this, just enough to hold it in place. And I don't know that there's any certain way to line it up. So there's the brown edging, and then I cut a piece of the black, again just a piece of scrap, and there's a die in there for cutting this center section out. And I just kind of looked for the best way for this to lay in there, and that looks like it might be it right there. And you know, I'm just going to get my glue out because this needs to be glued. And I'll get my glue to come down to the top. Come on, you can do it. There we go. Press it in there until it starts to stick. Yeah, that's working. And so there is the flower all ready to go and attached to the front of the card. And I am going to attach it with dimensionals. Get my card front over here. And I'm thinking about like so. Okay, then I cut out the leaves, and I cut the background of the leaves out of old olive, and the detailed part of the leaves I used mossy meadow. And again, for these pieces, the detailed pieces, I used the double-sided adhesive on the back of those as well, peeled it off and stuck it to the base part of the leaf. And those are my two leaves. And I put the leaves on with just flat underneath the sunflower with just a touch of adhesive, just like that. And we'll put one up here, and we'll put the other one down this way. So there's that part. Then I stamped the sentiment, thinking of you, and on Whisper White with Memento black ink, and then I fussy cut it out. And it's going to kind of sit like this. So some of it needed dimensionals because of the flower being raised up, and then this other end just needed some regular adhesive. And I had to take and just cut the edge of the thing off here, and cut it very thin because those are very, very tiny. They're even smaller than the mini dimensionals. But I wanted some support behind those words, those letterings. And so I stuck it on there like that. And so the sentiment is slightly raised too. You can kind of see it there. So that's the sentiment. And then, where did my lovely embellishments go? These are the Artistry Blooms sequins, and they have several different colors, and these are the colors of the sequins. And so I added a few sequins, and then the card is done, except I did cut a 1-inch strip off of the DSP and put it on the inside of the card, as you see here. And then I also made the envelope flap. And the way I did that, I've shown you this before. Let me get an envelope. I just take this piece of my DSP, I turned it over, I open up the envelope and lay the flap on here, lining it up just like that. And then I take my pencil, excuse me, I had to sneeze, and I traced. So I traced the end of the envelope here. Get some lead out there, it helps. And the edge of the envelope here, just from the where the flap runs. And then I'll use my ruler and get that part and draw a line on that, just like that. And then I can cut it out. Just like this. And then I'll put a snail on there. I'm going to run out of snail. Get a new one out. And then I can turn it over and attach it to the flap of the envelope. So then I have a lovely envelope to put with the lovely card. And there's my second cased from the catalog Celebrate Sunflowers card. I hope you enjoy. You can check out my blog. It's in, with a link to my blog is in the comments section. And from there you can go to these are my stamp site and get printable instructions that you can use for a workshop or a class, or just to look at while you're trying to make them at home. I do sell all the products that you've seen here today, and I hope that you would consider shopping with me. And there's a link there as well on my blog to my online store. Thank you for stopping by.